Hey folks, we're up here in New Hampshire today doing a video on the benefits of dry firing and practice, particularly around trigger management. Had a request from a subscriber who asked that I share some of the things that I use and that I teach my students and give you guys some sense of really what's worked for me and the value that's associated with dry firing. Whenever you do a dry firing exercise, the first thing that you're going to do is make sure there's no ammunition anywhere around you. And in fact, ideally you'll designate a safe place to do this. Then you're going to go through your same protocol, verifying that the gun is unloaded, verifying there's no ammunition in the gun, and verifying that there's no ammunition anywhere around you, because it's easy, if you're not paying attention, to have an unscheduled firing event, which is not what you want when you're doing a dry fire drill. So what I really am focusing on is presenting the gun and then pressing the trigger straight back without disturbing the sights. So what that's going to look like, I'll do it from that side. I'm going to do it one-handed simply so you can see what's happening with the trigger. So I find my front sights, I press my trigger straight back until the trigger breaks, and in the process what you should see is the gun should not move at all. So obviously I've got to reset that trigger each time. Again, we're just showing you different angles of this. Looking down my front sights are aligned, slow press, trigger breaks. It is essential that you do not change the sight picture. So what many people will do is they'll do this as they're pressing the trigger in anticipation of the recoil. So what we need to do is train ourselves to press the trigger straight back, know when that trigger is going to break, right? Pressing my trigger straight back, shot breaks. In the case of dry firing, nothing should happen. So if I want to practice presentations, I'm doing the exact same thing, right? I'm coming out, fingers off the trigger till I'm on point. At point, I press a shot. Break that trigger. Some of the drills that can be done, and you've probably seen these, but they work very effectively, and one is placing a spent shell casing on the gun, on the slide here, and as you're pressing, what should happen as we press this shot is nothing, the shell casing should not move. So as the trigger breaks, the shell casing stays there. If you're going to do it with that drill, what I recommend is you have a buddy with you who's placing that, because obviously you cannot reset the trigger on the gun without actuating the slide. So that's just a simple thing that you can do. You can do it with a penny, put it on the front side if you want even more control. This same idea applies to any type of gun that you have. So let's take a look at how we can also use revolvers for this same type of drill and the benefits of practicing that dry fire exercise. Okay, so we have an unloaded Smith & Wesson 686. Double action revolvers can be a great training tool for working through that long double action pull. So we verified this gun is unloaded, and we're going to do the exact same drill that we just did before with our semi-auto. So got my sights aligned, I'm pressing my trigger straight back until the trigger breaks and the hammer drops, and what I should see is no movement of the gun whatsoever. So let's take a look at that from the side here. Pressing the trigger straight back, and ideally with a revolver I want to be pressing all the way through and not staging the trigger. Since I shoot autoloaders so much, one of the challenges I have when I transition to revolvers is making sure that I'm really pressing all the way through and I'm not staging the trigger, okay? And so when you work in the revolver, you want to press that all the way through, straight back until your trigger breaks. So from a dry fire standpoint, those two basic trigger press drills are really great. And again, stick a piece of brass on there, stick a penny, whatever, on the barrel of the gun, So I've got my shell casing balanced there on the front, and what I want to do is I want to simply press my trigger straight back without disrupting the sight picture and keep that shell casing balanced. So that's pretty much what that looks like. Again, dry firing drills, no ammunition anywhere. If you do this, you'll find you really develop some skill. And then when you go to the range, all you're adding is the element of recoil management, right? And really riding what I call the follow through. So the arc, as I fire that shot, right, the gun's going to come up and back down. As soon as I see the front sight, I'm pressing through that shot again. Let's talk about one more tool that's extremely useful, and that is lasers, either integral lasers mounted on the in the gun, perhaps in the frame, or in the recoil rod assembly, or on a weapon mounted light like I have on my Glock 21. Let's take a look at that now. What we're going to do is we're going to use our laser light mount. It's a Glock 21 unloaded gun. We have our laser, which really is a useful tool because it allows you to see whether or not you're keeping your front sights aligned. And the way that you'll tell this is if the laser bounces and moves, then that's an indication you're not moving your trigger finger straight back along the axis of the bore in a steady, solid motion. So we're going to focus on our target down there, and I'm going to zoom in just a little bit here to our center mass area on our target here, and hopefully what you'll be able to see, it's tough to tell on this video right here, but so I've got my sights aligned, I'm pressing my shot. Again, our gun should not, or our laser should not move from the point of aim there. Now lasers really dance around, they really show you how much the gun is moving even though the gun seems steady in your hands. And again, we shouldn't see our laser moving at all. That dot should be pretty much right on. Now why is it dancing? Well, it's dancing because the laser really shows you any little bit of movement. But as I'm breaking the shot each time, my laser dot should be pretty much staying stable on that A. If it is, that means that we've got good trigger control and good trigger press. So continuing our practice dry firing with a laser mounted gun mounted on the laser here, we have a Smith & Wesson Bodyguard 38 Special with the laser that's mounted on the top of the frame, the right side here. We're going to do the same drill with a revolver. Now we're really going to see any movement we have in our double action trigger, and because this gun is designed with that double action only trigger, right, takes a lot of practice to keep a nice steady smooth straight back trigger press all the way through our shot. So again, we're going to do the same thing. We'll start here, give you guys a perspective on that. So I've got my red dot, I'm pressing all the way through till the shot breaks, and you are seeing a little bit of movement as I'm working through that trigger. Again, this trigger is not as good as the Glock trigger in terms of its reset and length, so I've got a longer way to pull through, so I want to have a steady break all the way through until I get that break, a steady pull through along the axis of the bore. So we're going to zoom into our A zone again, and we're going to work that laser, give you a sense of where that is. So we're coming right into A. Again, I'm in the same distance away, I'm at about 3 yards away. Just pressing till the shot breaks, trigger drops, hammer drops, excuse me. Okay, so hopefully what you saw is, again, you're seeing a little bit of dance. Ideally, as I press the trigger straight back, you wouldn't see any dance. So the more control that I have of managing the trigger press through that action here, and I'm pressing the laser right at you, trying to keep it on the lens of the camera. the more accurate I'm going to be when I'm actually shooting live ammunition. We're going to do one last little segment here with another laser that's mounted on the gun. This is the Laser Max mounted on the Ruger LCP. Same drills, and give you a perspective of what that looks like with that gun. So, Laser Max, little laser right here on the end of the trigger guard. And we're going to do the exact same drill we were doing before. So as I've got to cycle the slide each time to reset this, but as I'm pressing through the trigger here, I should be able to keep the laser from moving very much if I'm managing the trigger. And again, this is a really long, funky trigger that, you know, is what it is on the Ruger LCP. So let's look down range. Same drill, okay? We got our gun out here. And you can see we're getting a little bit of dance down there. And that really has to do with the fact that this trigger is a lot of take up and then it's a sudden break. So this is really not the same kind of trigger that we had with the M&P Pro, which, you know, we've got a really short smooth and then a very short reset from here out to there. So much better trigger, obviously, different kind of gun, competition gun versus, you know, backup kind of carry gun. So again, trying to really manage that trigger press all the way through without disturbing the sight. So we're pressing, 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 pressing until the shot breaks, and when it does, we shouldn't see movement in the gun, right? So here we are, press, 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 till the shot breaks. Other side here, press, 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 break. Gun shouldn't move. Gun should not move when the trigger breaks. In any gun that we're using, that's the key here. Sights are aligned. The gun should not move. Anyway, that's a few thoughts on dry firing exercises. There's certainly a lot more out there, but you will greatly benefit by practicing your presentations from holster, by practicing trigger press and trigger prep, right? Trigger prep being the reset of the trigger after it fires, so working that little reset, not letting my finger all the way off the trigger. So if I do those things, practice them dry at home, safe place, safe backstop, the whole thing, when I go to the range and add some ammunition, all I'm doing for part two is the recoil management and the follow-through. If I combine those things, then your accuracy should improve fairly dramatically, and then it's just what we all have to do is practice, practice, practice. Shooting is a perishable skill, and so if you're not out there practicing and not dry firing on a regular basis, you're going to find that your skills drop. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you like this video or any of the videos that we do, just click the thumbs up icon. Please share with your friends and family. Let us know what you think. Many thanks to the subscriber who requested this video. If you have a request of something you'd like to see us cover or a gun that we can access and review for you, we'd love to do it. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, stay safe.